You see, Manchester United is a club built on history, dominance, and identity. And it's one that is turning to something completely different right now. Not a legendary manager, not a world-class player, a data engineer, a man from Formula One, a man who has never worked in the football before. His name is Mike Sansoni. And he has been brought in to help fix one of the biggest clubs in the world. Now, on that surface, that sounds strange. But when you really understand where he comes from, what he has been part of, and what Manchester United have been lacking, it might actually be the most important signing that they have made in years. Because this is not just about one man. This is about a shift. A shift in how football thinks, a shift in how decisions are made, and maybe a shift that could change the game entirely. So the question is, who is Mike Sansoni? Mike Sansoni is not a typical football figure. He didn't come through an academy. He didn't spend years coaching in lower leagues. His foundation is built on something far more technical: aerospace engineering. He studied at the University of Southampton, one of the top engineering schools in the UK, graduating with a first-class degree and finishing at the top of academic performer in his class. That alone tells you something. This is not guesswork for Manchester United. This is absolute precision. This is someone who has trained to understand systems, efficiency, and performance in the highest level. And that part led him to one place. We all know Formula One, and the first name that comes to mind when you're talking about the beautiful game of racing is Lewis Hamilton, the legendary race car driver. Of course, we know he was the driver of Mercedes, and this brings us to Mike Sansoni. Mercedes machine. For over a decade, Sansoni walked inside one of the most dominant forces in modern sport, Mercedes Formula One. This wasn't just a team, this was a machine. A system where every single detail mattered. Every lap, every tire decision, every pit stop was calculated down to the smallest margin. And Sansoni wasn't on the outside looking in. He was right there, trackside, a performance simulation engineer. That means while millions were watching races on TV, he was running simulations in real time, predicting outcomes before they happened, helping determine decisions that could win or lose a race. In Formula One, those decisions happens in seconds, not minutes, not hours, seconds. So what does he actually do? Let's break it down so you guys can understand this. Let's make it simple. In football, we analyze games after they happen. In Formula One, they analyze the game before. They simulate thousands of race scenarios. What happens if we pit now? What happens if we wait 2 laps? What happens if there's a safety car? What happens if the tire degradation spikes? Every possibility outcome is mapped to the T. Every decision is a probability. Every decision has a probability. So when moment comes, they are not reacting, they are executing. And that's where Sansoni lived. In a world where data doesn't just inform decisions, it drives them. So why Manchester United making this move right now? Why is Manchester United bringing in Mike Sansoni? Because he has been in the job for over 1 year right now. But I believed it was time that we spoke about this on Pillar Sports. Why is Manchester United bringing Mike Sansoni into the club? Now this is a shift for Manchester United. A club that for years has been inconsistent. Not because of lack of money, not because of lack of talent, but because of lack of decision making. The decision making for Manchester United has not been right. Recruitment mistakes, injury mismanagement, lack of long-term structure. Too many decisions on instincts, too many decisions without alignment to what the club wants to be. While other clubs quietly evolved, using data, using analytics, using and building systems, United fell behind. So this move, this is not random. This is a correction for years that we have stayed in the dark. Instead of copying other football clubs, they went to a different sport entirely. A sport that had already solved problems football is still struggling with. So the question I know you are asking now is, how does F1 translate to football? It could not be more different. One is machines and the other is a human. But underneath, they are closer than you think. Now let's start with decision making. In F1, decisions are fast, calculated, and based on probabilities. In football, though, transfers take months and still go wrong. What Sansoni brings is clarity, a system where decisions are tested before they are made. And this is where I believe he's going to do his job. He's going to bring in a system called predictive modeling, where he's going to be living in how can we map out this before we go on to buy this player. You get me? That's going to be the first thing that he's going to start doing. So imagine being able to predict when a player is likely to get injured. What performance will the player drop? Which signing actually fits your system? Not based on opinion, but based on data, based on facts. That is what Sansoni is going to be answering at Manchester United and has been for 1 year. He is going to be looking to bring in performance optimization. What does that mean? In Formula One, performance is everything. Every component is optimized. Football is starting to move in that direction, but it's behind. Manchester United has been behind, especially in football in general, being behind on the optimization of every player that plays. Player when it comes to load management, players when it comes to recovery cycles, peak conditioning levels, all these things are behind when it comes to optimization of the machine that is the human body for football. These areas are where marginal gains matter. Remember when we spoke about when Ineos signed and became the minority owners of Manchester United? We spoke about these words, marginal gains. Those were the key things that we absolutely broke down when we were talking to you about what Ineos will be trying to bring to Manchester United. And those are the words that are going to absolutely ring through in Carrington right now. And the funny thing about it, F1, Formula One, is where marginal gains absolutely thrives. You change something, you optimize somewhere, you increase the fuel gauge here, you put in a certain amount of oil in this situation, you get the speed stop here. All those decisions make up who wins the race that day. And that's why we are also going to focus here on marginal gains. In Formula One, 1% can win you a championship. In football, that same 1% could be a better substitution, a smarter tactical tweak, and more efficient squad. These are the differences between winning and losing at the highest level. We need to understand that. Those are big differences, even though it is 1% change. But here's the problem. Football is unpredictable. It is so unpredictable, you never know what happens in the next game. You never know what happens in the next minute, talk less of the next 10, 90 minutes. You really can't simulate confidence of a player. You really can't simulate. You can't put pressure in a model. You understand? You can create the predictive model as much as you want, but you cannot put the pressure that they feel when you have 75 people screaming your name in Old Trafford. You can't fully account for human emotion. You really can't. But that's where this becomes complicated. Because data can guide decisions, but they can't replace football intelligence. So the question again, with me stating that, is, will this actually work for Manchester United? So now we arrive at the real question. Because these put us at two parts here. The first part is a part of evolution. This works. Man United becomes smarter. We become more efficient. We become more aligned. Recruitment improves, injuries decreases, decision becomes sharper, and they move ahead of the curve. Manchester United start challenging for Premier League trophies, start challenging and defeating UEFA Champions League elites. We start defeating them and we become the big dogs in world football. And then there's also the part two. It creates conflict. It fails because football pushes back. The dressing room doesn't respond to the data because the human side of the game resists the structure of what the data tells them. And the system is never fully integrates into what Old Trafford is and what Manchester United is. And then you look a little bit deeper about this situation and you ask yourself, why would Manchester United hire a Formula One engineer? They are looking at it the wrong way because maybe this isn't strange enough. Maybe this is long overdue. Maybe football has evolved and Manchester United are yet to catch up. Because we know tactics evolve, fitness evolve, coaching evolves. But so why wouldn't decision making evolve too? If this works, Mike Sansoni wouldn't just change Manchester United. He would have changed how football operates. And once that happens, there is no going back. Let me know what you guys think about this down in the comment. Make sure you guys hit that like button, hit the follow button, and I'll see you guys in the next one.